The world is fast changing and news breaks at lightning speed. Let us guide you through events and stories about global narratives and developments in geopolitics, diplomacy, foreign affairs, and world economy. Get factual and multi-angle perspectives on stories around the globe. Global Television brings you Diplomatic Perspective every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. with Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Diplomatic Perspective, the world in front of you.
Hello and warm welcome to Diplomatic Perspective here on Global Television. My name is Edikan Michael. Tonight on the show, we'll be diving into real issues surrounding Africa. The South Africa has been in the news, and of course, not this time still on a matter very much familiar with South Africa history. There is a xenophobic attack on some migrants in their country has drawn attention, and this is also leading to a lot of diplomatic concerns in which a lot of international communities, nations, leaders, and representative foreign ambassadors are speaking aggressively on that issues. Even Ghana has said that South Africa has betrayed Africa as a whole, recalling the days we had about Nigeria, Ghana, and other African countries actively supporting Africa at the time in history. But joining us tonight on the show is Dr. Abdulrazak Ibrahim from Nile University. He's here on the show to look at all of these issues that we have surrounding South Africa and other Africans. Right now, tensions is growing and is leading to a whole lot of concern. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Mr. Michael.
Yeah, how can you describe this whole situation? We know this is not the first time, but this time around, it's coming out very public. The vigilante group are going public. They are doing that on their cameras publicly, and sometimes it's leading to a lot of concern. How do you describe the situation if you have actually gotten to really see what is happening there?
Thank you once again for having me. I think if we want to look at it critically, we need to put it into conceptual perspective, because this is a trajectory that have started. It has some stages, that is the xenophobia. It's not just particular to South Africa. The Greek word, it is derived from the Greek word that is xeno, which means stranger, or it could be foreigner, and then the phobia, which means like the fear. It is normal for people that are within a particular group to see themselves as us versus them, because you are seeing people that are coming from another clime as having different culture, different values. You are not really sure of what will be expected from them. But if we look at it from the historical view, that is the historical trajectory, you notice that this xenophobia started right from 1948 and down through 1994. It has been taking different form. In 1948, the white apartheid group were the one that created this, because they created this type of segregation between the black community and the white, and the black community further took it to another level or another stage, and then they took it between us, that is the original settlers, the black South Africans, and the foreigners. So it took a new twist in 1994, because the ACN, which is the ruling party, promised a lot of South Africans the goodies of democracy, that they are going to cut down the level of unemployment. They are going to make sure that they fix the housing problem will be fixed, and their inability to achieve these promises with the state that was now raveled with some diseases like HIV and all those things, now make this slow in that economic progression now serve as a challenge to the people of South Africa. But it takes its ugly head it started rearing its ugly head in 2008. And the 2008, all of us is conversant with the global economic recession that took place then. And from there, it affected the economy of South Africa. And that is when we started seeing the actual attack of the South Africans against mostly Nigerians, the Zimbabweans, and all and Kenyans, and equally the Ghanaians that are within that axis. Because of the decline, because the people are now saying that, look, the majority of Africans that comes into their city, that is South Africa, they are more equipped in terms of education. They have some skilled jobs, because some of the Nigerians that were there, I was opportune to equally visit South Africa on a work visit. So, and my brother have stayed there also. So they see that the Nigerians that are there, not that Nigerians are coming in to take their job, but if you are skilled, and part of their challenge was that why are Nigerians taking the jobs and they are receiving lower wages? So what we are seeing now, because the world is equally facing some economic challenge, coupled with the crisis that is happening within the Middle East. So a lot of challenge, because energy dictates virtually everything about human life. You know, the production is down, and then they are now being faced with another phase of economic downturn. And we are not surprised that we are seeing this in 2026, and the escalation of this is becoming more.
I mean, Professor, a lot of persons will actually argue, because when you look at some concerns about the rhetoric about African unity, you know, a lot of persons believe in Africanism. Kwame Nkrumah also had agitated for all of that. Do you feel that, because one will believe that, I mean, for a good number of years, we've been talking about African unity and interactions of Africanism. Do you feel that with the recent happening, and so for the fact that a lot of nations are actually saying, oh, they're putting their country first, because what South Africa is doing is a display of, look, you know, we have to treat our issues. We have to get our people employed. We have to get, you know, our healthcare facilities must be enough to take care of our people, you know, and all of that. It's not just happening, but in South Africa, a lot of countries are actually personalism first. How do you feel this drive will impact, you know, the ideology of African unity as a whole? Because if we don't get the continent, you know, right in this direction, then we still gotta make this as a rhetoric.
Yes, I think I want to align with you, because right now, right from 2020 and 2008, the AU image is, I would say that it has been damped, and then some people will tell you that the AU credibility is damaged, because the founding fathers of the AU are thinking of, they are thinking in a very how will I put it? They're looking at an Africa whereby we will stand as a regional bloc, and then we'll be able to push for our own demand. So with this recent xenophobic attack again, it has further damaged the credibility of the AU, whether the AU stands to achieve its visions and mission of the founding fathers, whether the strategy that is employed by AU to ensure that Africa remain united and then African can push in one voice have been achieved. But I want to digress a bit to see one of the reasons that makes this to be a bit possible for the South Africans to continue their xenophobic attack. Critics and scholars of international relations have equally criticized the involvement or passive involvement of the South African government, that they are not doing enough, because we've seen in one of the attacks where the police have to join the mob. And then we've seen the kind of indirect support that the government is offering to these people. For example, Could you believe that it was just about 1% of the people that were involved in the in 2008 xenophobic attack that were jailed? And this is an attack that have led to a whole lot of destruction of life and property of the people. And it didn't just stop there. We equally have some attacks in 2015. We have another one in 2019 and again 2022. That shows that indirectly there is the involvement of government because they are not doing what they are supposed to do. And this is equally, you can equally fault the involvement or the approaches that is being adopted by the AU in tackling this, because they ought to be sanctioned. There ought to be a whole lot of critics of the action of the government of South Africa in doing this. You will recall and you agree with me that most African countries, most especially Nigeria, Ghana, have thrown their weight economically, politically, including socially, because our musicians were in support of the freedom of Africa, and then we supported the independence of South Africa. So we are finding it difficult to wrap our head that is it the way they are going to pay us back? And if the government is doing enough, I think they'll be able to what? To tackle these issues, most especially if they are being proactive, and then if they are able to engage with the people. For example, there's what they call the diaspora remittance. You understand? If the government can let them know that, look, the people that are coming into South Africa are equally paying some form of duties. And then the people that are coming into South Africa, they are coming with skills, because we have seen some of the consequences of the first attack, that it led to a lot of professors that have left their area, including some artisans. I know of artisans like, what's they called, the tailors, the people that are into building constructions, that were able to gain employment in South Africa. So if you don't have them in place, that means cost of production and distribution of goods and services will equally be increased within this region. They need to know that the world is a global village now, and that no nation can exist or stand on its own without the support from every other nation. And specifically, Africa should be considered most, because we need to see ourselves as brothers, and then we are united in the previous colonial experiences. And now that we have now gained our independence and as a sovereign nation, we need to unite and speak as one block and push for the demands that will affect Africa, not creating unnecessary type of hatred and hostilities between ourselves.
Brilliant, Doctor. I'll take you to the issues of, linger issues with the migration, because when you look at all of these, is the fact that some people in South Africa will say we are tired, to play all of that. This also takes me back to the previous questions. Issue of migration is becoming a global thing. United States today are saying we do not want people to come to our country illegally, and as a matter of fact, making visas restricting visas from some African countries today. You've seen that, Nigeria cannot access US as of today. A lot of countries cannot access US as of today, even people who want to go for study. So there's a broader impact about that. Even in the UK, where I am, there's a lot of instructions about restrictions of visa, making it so hard for people to migrate into some of these countries. So it gets back to the fact that a lot of persons are feeling that, it's high time people fix their own country. How do you get to see the practice of democracy in Africa for a lot of years, more decades right now? Democracy has been in existence in Africa, and the ideology was that it's to make life better for the people. Because I think if life is better for the people, there will be no migration. There will be no people, moving from Congo, Zimbabwe, and all of those neighboring countries to South Africa, into South Africa, even Nigeria and Ghana. How do you speak about the current situations of managing of resources in Africa, the whole leadership issue, which is giving a lot of concerns to this migration topic?
Yes, migration in itself is not a bad thing, but when the migration is not properly regulated, that is when it constitutes a kind of social challenge within the states that will be receiving the people. Even within the state, the capital city of Nigeria, where I am, Abuja, we can see that it's being riddled with a lot of traffic. That is to show you that the government needs to look inward and equally make some states to become viable economically and then in terms of infrastructure. And there are some political statements by some of the Western nation, the leaders. Remember, you will recall during the administration of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, may God have mercy on his soul, that there were a lot of influx and invite by the UK government for medical practitioners. In the West, where you are, and most especially in the US, you'll be surprised that even during Corona, they needed to invite medical doctors from Cuba. Cuba has the highest number of medical doctors in the world. As a global village, you cannot just have everything that you need. However, where it constitutes the social menace and challenges is maybe you don't need tailors. You don't need 1,000 tailors, and then 1,000 tailors are trying to come in. So in that perspective, the government needs to have a kind of robust arrangement for the type of migration that is going to take place. Whether we like it or not, Nigeria will need the expectorates, and the economy of other countries equally needs our raw materials for them to grow. They need our oil just as we need our expertise. So in this regard, the world, and most especially Africa, need to see this is boiled down to the level of education and level of orientation that is being served to the people of South Africa. And the narrative by the media, because part of the narrative by the media is that there is what they call 8 of 10. Nigerians, for example, maybe about 8% of about 8 out of the 10 people that visit outside the country are doing legal job. They are contributing wonderfully to the development of that country. But 2 bad heads that might be involved in, let's say, drugs, we now paint the whole 8 blacks. So there should be a kind of trajectory and a narrative by the government, conscious narrative by the government to say, look, if you throw these people out, that means we will lack the medical doctors, we will lack the tailors, we will lack the blah, 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 blah. Because Nigeria does not even just stop at this. At a point in time, Nigeria was importing there was this migrant of judges to some other African countries, because if you don't have that experience, you cannot be. So where the politicians are now masquerading under this, because it takes political will for them to be able to mop up this mess. If they are able to stand and protect their national assets, why then can they provide securities to the migrants? So I think it's a failure on the part of the South African government for them not to be able to protect the people. Because if these things should continue, remember that we have South Africans in Nigeria, we have South Africans in Ghana, we have them across the world. And God forbid, what has happened in the past, I think that was in 2008, when some of their facilities were attacked. We are condemning that also. But that is to show you that when you allow this thing to escalate, it might result into this. So I think, is this a failure or inadequate approach and ability of the government of South Africa to nip this under the what is it called, board, to arrest this situation and make sure that yes, they provide enough security to the people that are there, and then they educate and orientate, give proper orientation to the people of South Africa that look, these people are partners in progress. Until and unless they are able to do this, there is possibility that we'll still get some of these attacks again on the people.
All right, Prof. Do you think this has a negative image, to the other continent? I mean, look at how Europe, maybe America and Asia, how they view Africa. When you look at this South Africa attack, do you feel that this may actually put the continent in another look out there? Do you think so?
Yes, absolutely. Where countries are talking in one voice, Europe, America, and other continents, you can see the the Arab Emirates, the Middle East, they have their blocks, and then they are pushing for their own interests. Africa, up till now, could not unite and speak under one voice. So this is a blow on the AU. This is a blow on the after this free trade agreement between African countries that are supposed to be taken to the next level. And then this is equally a blow to the fact that we are preaching Pan-Africanism, because initially it was said that it was racism, the apartheid regime. Is what they have dished out to us that these guys are now doing to others. So they will say that then, why are you now criticizing the apartheid regime, which the same thing is being meted to the people of your own color and the people that you have the same ideology with? So they will not take us as being serious, because if we are a serious nation, things we need to be pushing out for is, for example, how can Africa get a permanent seat in the security, what is it called, in UN? So these are the type of conversation that we are supposed to be having. But now we are still engaged in further dividing ourselves and then not united, because there are dangers in this type of issues. Instead of the money and the energy that are supposed to be geared into pushing for progressive projects, will now be geared toward reconstruction, reconciliation. So it's just going to be the the RRR, that you are just going back, retrogressing and not progressing per se.
I mean, it's really concerning. It really bothers about African unity. For you, do you feel that the ideology, should we be talking about African passport, free movement protocols, mutual defense agreement? Because when you look at even insecurity, Nigeria is grappling with his own security. When you look at the fact that other nations are grappling with all of laws. Speak to us about that. Do you feel that that is possible? Because it's one thing to talk about that in theory, but in reality, with the whole thing and how these systems are being operated, do you feel that it's possible the way to go? I mean, I was just speaking with a friend from, I think, Uganda, who wants to come to Nigeria for a wedding. And he said that, I mean, your visa fee is costly. How can I be coming to Nigeria and I paid about, is it $300 as the case may be? So that is also, I mean, that is someone coming from, in Africa down to, West Africa. What do you feel that can be on the drive? And secondly, about the leadership that we have in different nations. We've seen a lot of persons blame African leaders in terms of maybe corruption, mismanagement of resources that is deepening deep into our systems. Some said this is not giving rise to all of these practices. As someone who has studied all of these situations, you've looked at the papers, you've looked at the realities that we have in different African nations. Do you feel this template is workable?
Yes, there is nothing that is not possible if you work hard at it and then first you put God as your main trust. Now, you see, I think that the crops of leadership that we have now is being given to us. I use that word given because there are a lot of manipulation from the West on the crop of leaders that we have, because they know that Africa remains as the hub of development in terms of population, in terms of the natural resources, that if Africans should make it, then it's going to be a big challenge to the global economy. I say this without any reservation because we have seen what one of the refinery, because I don't want to make advert for anyone, but the recent refinery that we have in Nigeria, we have seen the effect of that refinery alone. Now imagine if we have an Africa that is united in one voice, that you can travel, that the aim and objective of the after the free trade zone have been able to be after have been able to be established, then like the Shanghai nations, that they could just traverse one another using train. Some of our students that were the Nile students that were that went there, they told me the way they were able to just traverse between these countries. What is stopping Africa from achieving this? The leaders that are real Pan-African were eliminated from the scene, and they brought the crops of leaders that have their own interests in mind. The Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, the Gaddafi of this world, you see the way they speak passionately about Africa. You see the way they move for the world, the unity of Africa. And they know that, look, if this energy is being pushed forward and they are able to achieve this, then it will be between us as against them. And they will do everything that is humanly possible to divide us. Look at it critically. Even after independence, they create some kind of organization like the Commonwealth, like the what is it called, that the Francophone Union, to still have a grip, and for us to still see ourselves not as what, united. So they have been able to use these neo-colonial concepts and approaches to further divide Africa, because somebody from Niger is not seeing us as someone from them because of the language barrier. So all of these things are some of the gimmicks that they have used to further divide Africa, so that we will not be united in our common goals and interests.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulrazak Ibrahim from Nile University, Department of International Relations, as the case may be. Thank you so much for giving us your time tonight on Diplomatic Perspective. We do hope to have you again, because we'll still have more issues coming up, as the case may be, and looking at South Africa. But we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah. Have a good night.
And everyone, that's where we wrap it up here tonight on the show Diplomatic Perspective. My name is Edikan Michael. A pleasure to have you join us. See you again. Bye-bye for now.
The world is fast changing and news breaks at lightning speed. Let us guide you through events and stories about global narratives and developments in geopolitics, diplomacy, foreign affairs, and world economy. Get factual and multi-angle perspectives on stories around the globe. Global Television brings you Diplomatic Perspective every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. with Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Diplomatic Perspective, the world in front of you.